This becomes a religious concern when we ask about our values, our priorities, and how we make decisions as a nation that benefit only a small handful. It becomes a religious issue because justice has suffered gravely for those too poor to afford it. And consequently, people of color are incarcerated at alarming rates, which then precludes them from voting to change policies that overtly benefit the upper crust. There is a growing consensus among ethicists and theologians, religious leaders, and interfaith movements. The consensus, rather strong, that neoliberalism is the root cause of wealth inequality. Neoliberal economic theory began with the leadership of Margaret Thatcher in England, and of course Ronald Reagan here in the States. So we need to figure out, kind of do some math real quick. You know, we had the Great Society, 1964, and then about, which is, you know, personifies, I guess, the liberal hopes and dreams, the liberal agenda. Then 16 years later, the election of Ronald Reagan, we move into a post-liberal mindset. And what does that mean? What is neoliberalism? Well, let me tell you the nuts and bolts, the essentials of neoliberalism. This is what they claim. Human beings are distinct and separate individuals possessing absolute freedom to act rationally for their own benefit. We're all separate beings, and we can rationally justify working for our own benefits. And within this framework, the free market is the most rational and democratic system of choice. Human life should be open to the forces of the marketplace. Now, this ideology has shaped public perceptions about the virtues of individualism, which calls for or demands that the market be deregulated, goods and services privatized, social programs dismantled, and tax breaks given to the wealthy as a return for purportedly increasing employment. What needs to happen, I believe, and faith communities are best equipped to lead the campaign, is that the public debate over wealth, inequality, poverty, misuse of our natural environment for the sake of human wealth creation, that all of these be reframed to launch a more intelligent discussion about our limits and responsibilities, and foremost, our relationship with the larger and so delicate web of life. The public debate begins with the premise that poverty is the problem. That's what we got to get after. Poverty is the problem. But in fact, the problem is wealth. Let me repeat. The problem we face is not poverty. The problem is wealth. The problem our society faces is not embedded in the poor who live in Ferguson, where the forces of elite oppression have vanquished all hope for a decent education, job prospect, respectable wages, moving on with one's life. The problems lie with wealth and their reprehensible ability to manipulate policies that make the divide between rich and poor more and more devastating each and every day. Ancient sacred texts struggled with figuring out what was the right way to be and act in this world. What was the right way to act and relate to one's neighbor? And so we learn from the Hebrew scripture that violating poor people was problematic because even poor people were part of God's creation. The creation was intended to sustain everyone. What a helpful premise by which to begin thinking about equality. The creation was intended to sustain everyone. And so religiously we must ask, aware that our neoliberal policies do in fact increase wealth, we need to ask, has the creation of such wealth increased the well-being of the whole community? That's what we need to ask. It's really an American dilemma that we have brought on ourselves. In study after study, it has been determined that Americans spend 3 to 4 times as many hours shopping as those in Europe. Today, there are more shopping malls than high schools in this country. What then do we believe is the chief end of humanity? I shop, therefore I am? Do we believe that individualism and consumerism will ultimately lead to the common good? Economics has always been central to theology. In the language of Orthodox theology, theology cares about managing right relations in God's household. In both Hebrew and Christian traditions, individual needs are not seen as the focal point of God. Individual needs are not the focal point of the divine. Economics is also central to progressive theology. We believe the blessings of life are available to everyone, not just the wealthy. We believe no one is saved until we are all saved. We believe in sustaining a common, humane life for all. We believe in the worth and dignity of every person. We believe that all voices not only have the right to be heard, but the means. And perhaps most importantly, we believe that the future is not set, that history is not determined, and thus we believe that human beings create history and can change it if we will. So our theology empowers us and gives us hope. In an unjust society, we feel compelled to bring rich and poor, powerful and powerless to the same table and recognize a common humanity that blesses each and every one around that table. So the problem we confront is not poverty. The problem is wealth. And let's begin to reframe that in the public debate. So be it.